Hey, YouTube. Well, first I want to thank God for His creation. It is almost 6 o'clock here, and it's still light out. I don't know what city you live in, but we've been living in the dark for these winter months, and it's very depressing when it's dark at 5 o'clock. Anyway, I'm glad the lighter days are here. I'm going to talk about drug programs. I know there may be people out here who are considering program, who are considering getting clean, who are baffled or who are frustrated because they've tried so many times and failed. And when is the time to start looking for help? So that's something I actually can talk about with a degree of experience. I first started a program when I was 25 years old, right? First time I went to sought out any kind of help. So back in the 80s, mid 80s, I was in trouble with alcohol, so I went to AA. AA is the go-to place if you're gonna even start considering sobriety. I think it's good to start with AA. My throat is messed up today. Start with AA program. They're free. You just walk in, you can listen, see what's going on. I don't use that program now in my life. I haven't been to an AA meeting, NA meeting, anything like that in years. And I believe that a lot of people they lose faith in sobriety, or feeling they can stay sober because they go to an AA meeting and they feel like this is it. They feel like I've got to go to these meetings every day for the rest of my life. And if you go there, a lot of them will indicate that you're going to go pretty close to every day the rest of your life. So when I went in at 25, mostly for alcohol, weed, and acid, that's all I was taking. I loved it. It was like going to the clubs because there was so many. They had gay AANA in Hollywood, West Hollywood, just because it was just a big community. I was right in the middle of it, so you can go to gay meetings. So it was another way to connect with people. Besides the bars, you don't really connect with people in the bars except for whoever you're talking to, over loud music and so forth. But so I was actually able to connect with people on a deeper level. People were trying to get clean, so I did that, and I was in and out for about 3 years. 3 years. I had several relapses. I would go in there. I would think everything was fine. I'd pass a bar or something and end up drunk again. So it happened a couple of times in 3 years, and then I made the mistake when people were coming in there. They were always talking about drugs, right? Young people, always talking about crystal meth. That was epidemic at that time. And so when I went out on one of these relapses of mine, 28 years old, I discovered crystal meth. That changed everything. So the information it was not beneficial to me because I was barely even aware of the drug when I was in there, but it sounded so attractive. I'm just being honest. It guaranteed you this wild sex life, which I had never been able to accomplish, and sure enough, it did that if nothing else in the beginning. So anyway, I ended up going out and being on drugs for 17 years on crystal meth. In and out of jail, eventually in and out of prison. So it's just a little background. When I decided to get clean this time, I had a violent act of selling drugs. I've been selling drugs for 10 years in San Francisco. All right, I'm jumping all around. But I think I might have told most of this story before. I hate repeating myself. My book is called, let me get this. People who are really interested in this, my book is called Meth Monster. You can get it on Amazon. All about the drug life. It's a memoir. All about the drug life, getting clean, the whole bit. If you have you can download it on your phone on Amazon. Anyway, I told the story more fully then. But, okay, so I relapsed in LA. I ended up getting sent to prison. I was a thief at the time, paid thief. So I was a shoplifter. I got sent up here to San Francisco, right? I apologize to all those who have told the story before or who've heard it before. But I got sent up here to San Quentin, right? And I ended up getting out of San Quentin and staying here in the Bay Area. That's how I got here. So it was never my plan to come here. When they woke me up that morning for release, I had every intention of going back to LA. It's the only city I knew. I had been living in LA for 15 years. But I got here. Some people would say stuck here, but I got here. I liked it here. And very soon I ended up in the drug business, selling drugs. So I did that for the next 10 years. And I had some success, street type success, you know. Street type success is you have money in your pocket and you have a hotel room. And that really is about it. Oh, you have a lot of people who want what you have. They'll take you, but they really want what you got, right? Okay, so fast forward. After I got robbed in the Tenderloin here, I decided I want to get out of this game. It was no longer any fun. All the emphasis was on security. All the emphasis was on not getting ripped off. All the emphasis was on business, and I was not having a good time. But that was the cherry on the ice cream, honey. When that dude hit me in the head with a beer bottle to rob me, which he got nothing. But still, the sacrifice was too high. That's where I drew the line, right? We all have our moment of clarity, a line that must not be crossed. So I was in prison shortly after that, a couple of weeks after that happened, and I decided I want to get clean. Now, for me, I was already very familiar with 12-step groups, right? 12-step meetings, and I didn't have confidence in 12-step meetings because it didn't work before. Granted, I was in my mid-20s at the time, so getting clean in your 20s is a lot different than getting clean in your 40s. It's just that, anyway, I guess I had some resentments. And plus, that's where I found out about drugs at. Hearing about drugs every single day made me curious. And when I went out, I went right to it. So I'm not saying that I'm not speaking against 12-step. I think it's a great program. And it works for a lot of people. 12-step probably works for more people than anything else in recovery. But I didn't have a lot of confidence in it, right? So I decided I need to go to a drug program. I chose this place called Walden House. I made arrangements. They were to pick me up, and I was in Vacaville State Prison. Maybe it's an hour and a half away from here. And they picked me up, brought me to Walden House. I loved it. I loved it again. I loved it because the program really didn't do anything for me, frankly. They picked me up. I had a bed in there. I shared a room with 3 people. The main thing about program is it gets you out of the life. In other words, you have to go to the store. You need some cosmetics, or whatever. Somebody goes with you. You gotta go anywhere outside of the house. Most places you can't go, but the places you do go, there's someone with you. So the big thing about getting off drugs is you have to get away from drugs for a while. You have to get a clear head. Now, I had been in prison for 7-8 months, a year at halftime. So I got out, my head was already clear. I just had to keep it clear. So my first round with the program was great. Gave me a chance to get to know people one-on-one, you know. As far as our meetings and stuff there, not really a whole lot. That was mostly about housekeeping and things. I think the primary thing about program is getting you away from dope, keeping you safe where you won't use. Eventually you catch on, you get a little stronger. They gradually give you more and more freedom. Eventually they're trying you out on the street for an hour or two, something like that. See if you can get back to the house safely, and it grows from there. So most people go and they get jobs while they're in there, those things like that. But that was not my route. I was disabled because of this damn disease that I have. But I ended up relapsing from there. There's not a lot of relapse story after this, though. I had 2 relapses. One from that house. I went back to prison from there. Got out of prison, went back to the same program, relapsed one more time, and that was it. I relapsed one more time because they let me go too early. I was in a bigger program at that point, the second one. They let me go too early. After, I don't remember the dates, but I think after 30, 40 days, something like that, maybe 60 days, you're given a weekend pass to go out on your own, 4 hours, come back on your own. I got out in the street and I wasn't ready. As soon as somebody said something, this was weekend of gay pride parade, Folsom Street Fair. Somebody passed by me, said something nice, smiled. He was going to the fair, and I followed right behind him. So I simply wasn't ready. It's not to follow the program. It's supposed to gradually reintegrate you back into society. But I still think programs are see, if you go to AA, 12-step, here's the problem I have now. They're going to tell you that this is the only way. Basically, anybody who doesn't go to these meetings is on a dry drunk. They don't know what the hell they're doing. They're going to get drunk, right? They're going to get high. And that's not the truth. I had to find that out the hard way. Not one size doesn't fit all. So for me, I found that program was a lot more useful to me than 12-step. Now, some people just go into 12-step meetings and that they found a home. They start going to meetings every day. They have things called sponsorship, and they got a good program. They have 12 steps, which are basically, when I was in prison, I went through the Bible, and all of those steps are in the Bible. So they're basically spiritual principles to live by. They picked them out. This guy who started the program, brilliant guy, Bill Wilson. I think he converted to Catholicism, but he doesn't talk about that as far as the program because he knows it's going to turn a lot of people off. But all those steps are spiritual principles found in the Bible. Anyway, so for me, it's more of a religious experience. Also, after I made the decision to get clean, there was a point where I felt like, okay, God has answered my prayer. I am delivered from drugs, and I no longer accept anything that says I'm not. Right? But I had to do certain things. I still had to learn how to live. I've been a junkie 17 years. So if 12-step doesn't work for you, you go there and you find out it's not working for you. A lot of black people have issues because sometimes you go into these programs and you're the only black person there. Now, that may not be true in the regular world, but in the gay world, it was certainly true. Gay community, mostly white people. I don't have a problem with that at all. I'm not a very racial type person, but to be the only one is still makes you feel different. Well, that was my experience. But program was different because I actually got to know the people, live with them, and so forth. And so, anyway, what was I talking about? I'm talking about if you're thinking about getting clean, you try it 12-step first. Go a few meetings, see if it's something that's comfortable for you. Sometimes people have jobs still. They want to keep their job. They want to keep their apartments. They don't want to give up. My situation was I didn't have to give up anything because I was getting out of prison. So if that doesn't work for you, next step, definitely I would suggest go to program. Program, not that they're going to do anything to shake your brain up, and I'm not a believer in that way, but it will get you away from dope, keep you safe. I stayed in that program. It was only the one I relapsed from was a year and a half, I think. But this last one I went to was only 90 days. But I had this made up mind at this point. So I went there. Then I went to this other thing. It was like a halfway between the streets and program. It's called Baker Places here in San Francisco. I lived in those they have houses all over the place, and you basically 4 or 5 people share houses. They own the houses, but it doesn't have supervision or anything. It's just you live together, you're roommates, and but you still have support. You still have a house that's clean. You have people you can do things with. I lived in that program for 4.5 years. 4.5 years. I think it was 3 different houses. Yeah. But then, now when that 4.5 years was up, I had been in prison for 7 months. I'd been in this program for 3 months. So 1 year, then 4 years, 5. So I got out of all of that, people around me, or those programs, or these systems, I was 5 years clean. So now I was prepared. I was quite prepared. Anyway, so I said, you think about getting clean, try 12-step. Try. It may be you just need some therapy. It could. See, that's the thing. I got my train of thought back. A lot of people, AA will tell you this is the only way. Same thing basically with any church. Every church tells you this is the only way. Jesus is the only way. Buddha is the only way. Most spiritual organizations will do that, right? But that's all bullshit. You need to find what works for you. I've known people who have gotten clean, went back to work, and work is what kept them clean. Work, something to do, physical with their hands. Time would pass and they would still be clean. Why? Because it's working for them. Therapy. I was in therapy for 5 years. 5 years. And basically, that was just telling this dude what was going on with me at the moment. Made it through. So it was program therapy, and I didn't need 12-step meetings. That was a hard decision to come to. I tried it for a year. I said, I'll go for a year. So I'm going to make sure I'm doing the right thing. After that year was up, the day that the year was up, I stopped going there. But I got involved in my church. I love church. My relationship with God was even stronger then, I think. I mean, first you run. That's that happy period when you first come to faith. And then it's a walk. So I'm in the walk now. But it's been 15 years. 15 years. I had to find what worked for me. Program, therapy, church. Ongoing. Okay, so I went on longer than I said. I thought I was going there 15 minutes. But it might encourage somebody. Right? Okay, YouTubers, happy 14th. I know y'all rushing to get your videos in. They got to be in by the 15th, 24 more hours. That ain't really true, though, because ours, for some reason, California, mine goes in faster, earlier than that. So, anyway, happy 15th. I hope you enjoy your 22nd. I'm being silly. Later.